Hello and welcome. For this week's video, I decided to make an updated meringue pop tutorial. It's been just over a year since my original and I've had so many questions and comments, so I'm going to try and answer as many as I can in this one. I've also included how to pipe these wreath style ones, and I'll also cover some troubleshooting tips too. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, then hit that button and turn on the notification bell to never miss a video. Let's dive straight in with prepping our equipment. You'll need a hand mixer or a stand mixer with a whisk attachment, some scales and some bowls. First of all, I'm going to take a little bit of kitchen towel with either some lemon juice or some vinegar on and then clean around anything that is going to touch the egg whites. The reason that I'm going to do this is because any tiny bit of fat or soap residue is going to ruin your meringues. We want to give these the best chance of whipping to nice stiff peaks, and this is a great way to start. Now everything is grease-free, I'm going to start separating my eggs. Now I tend to just crack them straight into the bowl and gently lift out the yolk, allowing the whites to run through my fingers. I used to use the shells, but I did find that it would break the occasional yolk, so I've switched to this method instead. Let me know in the comments below which method you use. I really need to find something that's reliable, but not so messy. As you can see, I'm just weighing my egg whites as I crack them, and that's because you'll need to double the amount of sugar to your egg white. Mine is 100 grams, so that means I'll need 200 grams of sugar. Now, before I start whipping these egg whites, I'm going to add a pinch of cream of tartar. This is an acid, and this helps to stabilise the whisked egg whites, and it also stops the meringue collapsing before it's baked. This step isn't necessary for the meringues, you can make it without it, it's just something that just gives you that little extra help along the way. I'm just going to pop that onto my stand mixer, and I'm going to start off really slowly for about a minute just to build up those proteins, and then when you can see it gets a bit bubbly in there, I'm going to put it up to a medium speed. This needs to whip up to soft peaks before the sugar is added, so leave it like this for around 5 minutes to continue whipping. To check whether it's ready, remove it from the mixer and tip gently. As you can see, this is sliding around very freely, and that tells me there is still a lot of egg white under that foam, so we need to whip a little further. The time this takes can vary depending on the humidity, the temperature, and even the age of the eggs. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, others 10 to 15, but just stick with it and it will get there. This has been whipping now for about 10 minutes, so I'm just going to test it again. I'm feeling very confident this time, so I'm going to tip it completely upside down, and there we go, perfect. Nothing should fall out, nothing should be moving. This can go back onto the stand mixer, and now we're going to incorporate our sugar. To stop the mix collapsing, we're going to add the sugar in a spoonful at a time. I like to sprinkle it in to keep it nice and airy, and then once it's all in there, turn the speed back up, and this time we're looking for glossy, stiff peaks. Again, the time may vary on how long it takes to get there. I left mine for about 10 minutes, and then on checking the meringue, I definitely have super stiff peaks. That isn't going anywhere. I'm also going to rub a bit of the mixture between my fingers just to see if the sugar has dissolved. Mine's still a little bit grainy, so I'm going to pop it back on the mixer and check again in 5 minutes. You can flavour your meringue with any essences or extracts that you like. Today I'm just using vanilla, but I have used mint and lemon in the past, which was super delicious. Just remember that the colour of the flavour might affect the colour of your meringue, so choose lighter ones if you want to keep it white. This is now ready to use, so we're going to move on to colouring. The better food colours to use are the gels and the pastes. These are super concentrated food colours that won't dilute your mix like the liquid ones would. I imagine you could also use powdered food colour, although I've not had a chance to use it myself yet. When incorporating the colour, fold it rather than mix it in, otherwise you're going to knock out all the air bubbles and you're going to loosen the mixture. If you're only dyeing it one colour, I would add it directly into the mixer, and that way it would keep it lovely and stiff. But if, like me, you're doing multiple colours, just fold it in carefully. With so many piping tips out there, it's really difficult to know which ones to use. It will all depend on the look that you're going for. I like to add lots of texture, so I choose open or closed star or French tips. The 1M is the most popular tip and it gives a lovely textured look, plus it's great for roses, so that's the one I'll be using first. When adding your tip, always make sure that you cut it below any grooves in the tip itself, otherwise you won't get that super smooth shape from it. You can see here I'm really close to it, so I'm just going to cut a little bit lower. The other tips that I'm using today in the video are a 6B and a 337. In this bag, I'm adding a piping tip coupler. This is a 2-part device that allows you to switch piping tips easily without having to change the whole bag. To help pipe my meringue pops a little bit easier, I'm going to use a cutter and an edible pen to create an outline on the back of my baking paper. You can make them as big or as small as you like. Just remember that when adding the templates to space them out and also leave enough room for the sticks. They won't spread, but they do need a good airflow to bake properly. Pipe a small dot of meringue mixture in each corner, and this will just help keep your baking paper in place while you pipe on it. Let's take a moment to talk about the sticks. I get a lot of questions about what sticks to use. You need to make sure that they're made from paper. This might sound a bit dangerous putting paper in an oven, but we cook it at such a low temperature that it doesn't burn or catch fire. Do not use plastic, as these can melt and also give off some really toxic fumes. To attach the stick, simply pipe a little meringue onto the sheet inside your template and then place the stick on top. You can then pipe the meringue straight over it and it will keep it in place once it's baked. For the designs, you can make basic swirls in one colour, or you can use multiple colours and tips to make a more colourful meringue pop. Make sure to pipe at a 90-degree angle and keep around 1 centimetre away from the baking paper to allow the meringue to flow out. I'm just showing you a few ideas, but you can do whatever you like. Just have fun and get creative. To make the heart-shaped wreaths, I'm going to do exactly what I did with the meringue pops, and I'm going to use a cutter to make myself a template, attach the sheet to my tray, and instead of doing the whole of the inside, I'm just going to pipe little dots all around the outside. Just make sure that when you are piping these, that the meringue is completely touching, and that way it won't fall apart once it's baked. To make mini meringues, all I do is I use a round tip, and then to pipe these, I squeeze out the meringue to form a little round blob and then quickly pull up to get that little peak on top. I'm just going to use up all the leftover mixture and pipe mini meringues in any gaps that I've got, as these are great for desserts or for cake decorations too. When you've piped them all, you're going to pop them in a preheated oven at 100 degrees centigrade, 210 degrees Fahrenheit, or gas mark 1 in the centre of the oven. You may need to bake 1 tray at a time. I have done 2 before and that's been fine, but it may depend on your oven. To check if your meringues are done, they should peel easily away from the baking sheet, leaving no sticky residue. I took my mini meringues out after about 40 minutes and then returned the meringue pops, and they were in there for just over an hour. If they are still a bit sticky, put them back in and then check them after 5 to 10 minutes further. Once cooked, the meringues may crack if the temperature changes too suddenly. To prevent this, you could turn off the oven but leave the meringues inside with the door open slightly. This will allow the meringues to cool down gently and prevent any cracking. To store the meringues, pop them in an airtight container. I've just popped a bit of kitchen towel in the bottom for a bit of padding, and these will stay fresh for around 2 to 3 weeks. Meringues love to suck up moisture, so if it's very humid and they aren't in an airtight container or individually wrapped, you may notice that they become sticky. You can put them back in an oven on 100 degrees for around 10 to 15 minutes and it will dry them up again. I really hope that you found this tutorial helpful. If you have any questions, then please leave them in the comments below and I will try my best to answer them.